Good evening, everyone. We would be starting in just 5 minutes. Good evening, sir.
Sasaki, can we start then?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Skarn Robotics. We have Dr. Arun T. IS, Health Secretary Puducherry and CEO Puducherry Smart City. Next on the panel, we have Vijay Prakash, retired IS officer, Chairman cum CEO, Atal Incubation Center, Bihar Vidyapit Foundation. We have Shanawaz Qasim, IPS, CEO of Telangana Waqf Board. We have Dr. Karnika Seth, cyber expert and founder of Seth Associates. We have Ritik Mukherjee, senior editor of Financial Chronicle. Dr. Dhanya Menon, renowned cyber security expert. Advocate Rajas Pingle, cyber lawyer. And lastly, we have Doug Karn, founder of Skarn Robotics and Vcrypt search engine. May I now request Dr. Arun T. IS to start the discussion.
Yeah, good evening. I think it's visible, I guess. Yeah. Good evening. Good evening to all the panel members, respected sirs. Thank you for this opportunity. In fact, is it audible?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah. In fact, it's a privilege to be one among these entire esteemed guests and also the technical experts. I'm from a medical background, start and as we know, the cyber security is a priority. I'm looking after the health and smart city in Puducherry. Most of us would have experienced how the data has been stealed by, how the data theft happens, how the amount of data is being mismanaged. Just most of us would have observed. Say today, if I just enter into the Google, everyone knows what I am seeing. Even the ads come in my own Google. Even if I go to Facebook, even the ads are managed based on my needs, based on my this one. If I just book a flight, even those data is also being stolen. We want what is expected. See, as such, the entire data management, be it storage, be it at the software end, entire thing has to be stored in a very proper format. There should be no one should be able to access the data, but I doubt that is whether it is happening to that. Of course, there are a lot of guidelines even with the health data. Just an example, we are coming out, and India, even the government of India started with the National Digital Health Mission, where entire person's digital health data is being digitized, and it is being unique ID is being generated to everyone. Hopefully in future course, everyone's data would be, as of now, only in the UTs, they have started only in the union territories, but not in other states. But over course of time, as per the National Health Policy 2012, all the data would be digitized throughout the country. So when entire data is available, the security of the data is also a very, very important aspect. Yes. What happens? Even there are many apprehension when we link up with the insurance agency, when we link up with other Ayushman Bharat or other private insurance agency. The data is very precious. There is nothing as precious as data. That we realize very late in our process. With this data, you can manipulate individuals' needs. So the data, the storage of the data becomes very, very important in this. So as a process of this one, even there are a lot of guidelines, HEPA guidelines, health indicator guidelines, a lot of guidelines are there, but how far it is foolproof? That is the question. So in that background, I appreciate this initiative by Karn and others. So we want to listen to you. We want to understand how best we can save our data, how best we can have the virginity of the data that is being collected. Because IT field has entered all the spheres. Health is one area where they are not able to enter much. thanks to COVID, a lot of IT initiatives have come up, be it e-records, e-pharmacy, e-admission, HMS, a lot of data management apps and mobiles and other softwares have come up. So let us use this opportunity to come out with a data storage kind of thing. A lot of, so we want to listen to them, and I appreciate each and every one of you for sparing their time, and we want to listen to you more and more. Thank you for this opportunity.
I have one question for you, sir, before you leave.
Yeah.
Sir, you are also the CEO of Puducherry Smart City.
Yeah.
And as you have rightly said that right now we are also digitizing the medical sector as well.
Yeah.
Telemedicine is also one of the major things we are looking forward to, especially when it comes of things is what new age urban youth. All this amounts to a vast pool of data of common people. So how can we ensure a foolproof system where all our data is?
Yeah, for all this data, a clear guidelines has to be framed. Of course, even in the registration department, if you see, most of the states have come out with their blockchains and blockchain kind of things, so that the intervention at the level of the data storage has been taken care. So one is the clear-cut guidelines and how it has to be done. A protective, cyber protective cell has to be made. Through the government has also made a lot of initiatives, but still the apprehension even among everyone is there. So which we have witnessed, not just with the Google or with the YouTube or with Facebook. What I'm saying is even at the level of the storage in this one also, the medical data that is being stored. Even this is one of the reason when we are trying to link up with our private insurance with our own digital health record. Many of the companies were hesitant so that their data don't want to be shared with others. So this is the kind of apprehensions are all there. So we need more and more regulatory system. We need more and more transparency in how it is being done, and more awareness is also required. How it is being stored and what are the precautions has to be taken. Because if you see recently, maximum crimes are related to the cyber crimes. When we discuss with our police authorities, when I was in the collectorate also, so this is the major threat to us. So there is a special training program for the police officials. To that extent they have gone. So this is a very, very an important initiative which you have taken, and I appreciate the entire team for this.
Thank you, sir. Sir, we would like you to stay on till the end, sir. So if you can,
yeah, definitely I'll be
come back later on.
Thank you. I want to listen to you, listen to the experts. I want to listen and I want to learn from them. Thank you.
Sir, we now move on to Vijay Prakash, who is a retired IS officer. He is presently the chairman cum CEO of Atal Incubation Center, Bihar Vidyapit Foundation. Over to you, Vijay sir, if you are there.
Can you please check if he is here? I don't think so. We can move forward from.
Yeah, sir. May I now move on to Shanawaz Kasim, sir? He is presently the Telangana Worker Board.
Thank you for inviting me to this session on online security and why we need this online system of secure environment. I'm Commissioner Minorities Welfare as well as in charge of Telangana State Work Board, but I am from Police Department. I'm an IPS officer, IG rank. So my association with police has also exposed me to the concept of cyber security and why it is so important. Let me be very frank with you. For the fact that when we talk about online security and cyber security, we somehow limit it to the field of crime. That is the level of awareness we are having. But it is much, much beyond the concept of crime only. Crime forms one of the aspect of cyber security. But cyber security is very much required for economic development of a country, the peace and security of a nation, and the standing of nation among the committee of nations in the entire world. Like, for instance, if you look at the legal aspect of cyber security, the first and foremost thing to secure your online environment is to have a good and robust law. We had the IT Act of 2000, but at that time, the complicated environment was not as much as we are seeing now. There was no social media, there was no Facebook, there was no Google, almost to the level of public. So that act has to be a little bit more made more robust. It is related to IT, but we have moved beyond the concept of IT to something called social media. So what we need is on the pattern of GDPR of Europe, General Data Protection Regulations Act, which they incorporated in 2020 or 19. I'm not sure about the date. That is a form of a comprehensive strategy for managing data and data privacy and the things that are associated with online data. So we need a kind of such regulatory act, or we can make rules, administrative rules from the IT Act itself. The IT Act gives the government of India the mandate to make rules for IT sector. So either this way or that way, we have to come out with a changed perspective of IT Act. The situation in 2021 is quite different from 2000. So the 20 years gap have to be fulfilled in the form of a law. Second thing, why I feel that we need to be very, very upfront in the form of online security is that the entire digital transactions would form the backbone of the country's economy. It is not that we would be trading like we used to trade earlier or trading now. If you look at ancient time, we used to trade like a barter system. You give something goods, I give you some goods. That moved from the currency system. So that was the second phase of revolution in economic sphere. The third revolution which is coming for the humankind is that digital transaction, that the invisible transaction, say it cryptocurrency or Bitcoin, but the third level of economy is coming. So if your online system is not secure, you cannot generate confidence for investment or banking transactions. And banking transactions are the core of any economy of a country. So those who are having very robust laws, an online secure environment and banking sector in compliance with the latest IT regulations and data privacy, that economy will grow. Fourth, why I'm telling this is very important, we need to, is about the peace and security and serenity of a country. It is much wider than crime. Crime, we only see the what you call investigative angle, but I'm talking about the holistic angle, the image of a nation. You know, the social media can be a great disruptive environment in the terms of economic, because if they can create manipulated contents to strike at the heart of a nation's economy or prevent somebody from investing. So larger designs are at work. So from that perspective also, online secure environment gives a kind of confidence, a boost to other nations to invest. So these are some of the areas which I feel necessitates that we treat online security more than a simple crime of phishing or simple crime of data breach or Google chasing us for some buying shoes since I've gone to a shoes website. It is much, much beyond that. Thank you.
I think you're on mute.
Hello, am I audible?
No, sir, you're audible. I think Mr. Baidya was trying to say something. He was on mute.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Sir, what are the challenges police face as you have been a top cop? So, in countering cybercrime, what are the challenges you face day to day? Is less awareness on technological know-how a concern, sir?
Yeah, look, I have not personally worked in a cyber crime cell, but I was joint commissioner of police, so of a IT district in Hyderabad. So a little bit of
Please continue.
so now is it secure online environment to talk? That sound.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, agree with you.
Okay, so I have a general understanding. I will be very honest. I cannot claim to be an expert on this, but since I was Joint Commissioner of Cyberabad IT district, I had a lot of interaction with IT companies at the privilege, and also general supervision of the cyber crime cell. So one of the challenges I faced, but I myself was not trained for the job. So I had to learn from bits and pieces.
Yes.
What is byte, what is bit, the learning curve. So senior officers also has to move up to the level to understand cyber security, number one. Second is that training has started in a big way. The police department now cannot think or imagine, at least Telangana, without thinking training in cyber field. So we have moved a lot ahead, but still the critical mass needs to be at the expert level. Awareness is there, but critical stage of knowledge is still lacking in-house. We still have to use the outsourced knowledge to crack certain cases. So the third option in the police challenge comes that to recruit the best of the personnel, or to have a mechanism in which we can outsource certain non-critical part of the investigation or the online knowledge to some other agency. So we can focus on the core aspect. So overall, the challenges of police is that case is rising. The cases are so much rising that district police cannot handle it. Initially, they used to send it to cyber cell. They used to just wash away their hands, saying that we don't have the technicalities nor the manpower and expertise. So there is a dedicated cyber cell at the district police headquarters. You go there and register. Those were 10 years back, but now hide behind those pleas because it has become so ordinary a crime. Earlier, cycle theft was an ordinary crime. So cyber crime is becoming such an ordinary crime that every police station now has to be equipped with solving small cases of cyber crime. So the next challenge is to equip every police station as a in situ cyber station. I will give you my example. 6 years back, when I was in charge of a district, I was asked to create a dedicated cyber cell. I had to slog it out. I had to bring people from Hyderabad, talk to people from Vizag, Visakhapatnam, Chennai. So then I could find out what are the hardwares required, what are the softwares I have to buy. Otherwise, just like a blind person going to buy things with the money. So that stage is also there in which you have to have knowledge at the district level. Every district must have a dedicated cyber cell so that the unit at the headquarters does not get clouded. These are the challenges. And obviously the fund challenge will always be there. So we have to work it out.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I am moving on to Vijay Prakash, sir, who has been a senior bureaucrat.
I think he is on mute, maybe.
Okay. All right.
He is on.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Are you asking me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, would you please speak on why data security is of prime importance today?
Okay. Thanks a lot. But unfortunately, needless to say, I mean, this is an established fact that we are in a digital world. Everything is being controlled by digital platforms, and everywhere in government, I mean, all activities are now being digitized. All files are being digitized. In fact, all kinds of informations are kept in a digital mode. So, I mean, I don't think there is a need to emphasize how much this digital security is important. I mean, I can tell you what used to happen was when we first started this contract system to be operated through online, I mean, lot of security breaches were found. In fact, what they used to do was, give you my experience, I mean, wherever I found, what they used to do was, whenever a person filed a tender, that used to be leaked, and then another, contractors, other group of contractors, they used to file their own tenders based on that. So this is rather prevalent everywhere. I mean, and this was under the control of NIC. So we had lot of issues, lot of problems regarding this. But personally, I can say that we have been cheated several times, even through the banks or through the insurance companies and other organizations. In fact, once I was cheated by a Canadian company. The embassy recognized that this is a fraud, total fraud. Nevertheless, they said that we cannot help you, you cannot recover back your money. I mean, this was rather a very, very difficult situation. I mean, Canadian company, they had a beautiful method to where you can learn about whom you are dealing with, and then you can probably enter into any kind of transaction. Anyway, that is another issue. So this is one, that breach of information that can happen anywhere. Number one, maybe in the financial transaction, maybe in the non-financial transaction, maybe in the electoral politics. I mean, everywhere there is a chance, because large number of people are operating through this. In fact, you cannot, I mean, even the social media is being manipulated. I mean, I did not emphasize that. So security is a major concern. Even in, I mean, let me tell you, I was in vigilance, and I used to find that lot of informations which earlier used to be transacted offline have now become an online transaction. So to manage, to keep surveillance, you have to see how this online business is going on, and then only you can probably book a case in vigilance. But unfortunately, I mean, I would agree with Mr. Qasim that so far police has not been geared to the task, I mean, to meet the challenge. Police is still in the mode. I mean, there are large number of, although we have a separate cell in Bihar also, but police is not. I mean, I have not seen. I have myself in one. I mean, in 2 cases I have filed an FIR. In both the cases, I am yet to receive any reply. No, I mean, the resolution of the case apart, even the reply has not been sent to me. So, and in one case I was cheated, and in the one case this kind of meeting, what was happening on Zoom platform, that was somehow hijacked, and it was just disrupted. This year only this year in the January this happened, and when we sent the message to the police, I mean, they did not do anything. We sent the message to the Zoom also, and I don't know how this idea leaked, and the whole program was hijacked, and it was an international program going on. Anyway, these kind of problems, I mean, problems are there, and we have to make people aware about the cybercrime. This is one part, and the other part is how to make police, I mean, responsive to the whole situation. Police has to be trained properly, and police has to understand the entire intricacies. In fact, earlier we used to have physical police leading the team. Now we must have technology leading the police. I mean, it's not only in the police, it's in the education, it's in the health. Everywhere, technology is leading the whole system. So this surveillance, another area I would like to point out is health. Even health, you will have lot of problems, and obviously there is another issue of, I mean, people say that next war will not be physical, it will be digital. So your security issues are really of great value, and we have to be conscious right from now, even now. I mean, in fact, what I would suggest is security issues must be taken up in the right interest, and even in the college level or in the training of all the government departments. This needs to be emphasized, and we ought to have a large number of companies. I'm also dealing with companies, and in the company's transaction, people can be cheated, and in one go, one can become bankrupt. I mean, this is a very real situation. So one has to be very cautious and one has to train oneself how to manage things so that they are not cheated, their company is remains safe, and the platform also remains safe. Or they can remain safe only if the platform is remaining safe. That's why what Kern is doing or Kern Robotics is doing. That's a wonderful thing, and such effort must be encouraged. And we have to ensure that all kinds of transactions gradually people would be conscious about this, and I suppose such platforms will make a major dent in the whole situation. So that's all for the timing. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Sir, we have one question for you. Sir, you had been in an age where digital technology was not so rampant. It had not touched our lives like it has now. Now we are living in an age where we can see IS or IPS officers or every wing of the government very active on social media. So, do you think digitization is a boon? Because with active digitization, we have a huge pool of data which is being created, and also we have the risk of that data being misused. So, do you think it is a boon, sir?
I always consider it to be a boon. We are in a new situation. Now you cannot stop this whole information revolution going ahead. You cannot stop. And we are moving into a different kind of world. World order is changing. Earlier, when my brother went to US, let me give you an example. At that point of time, when we sent him, he used to send us a letter which we used to receive after 15 days or maybe about a month. Earlier it was a month. In 81 he went to US for his PhD, and he used to send us a letter, and after 1 month we used to know that he has safely reached his destination. And that's why we were extremely worried whether he will come back or not, what will happen to him on the way, and there was no help at all. When my son went, he went in 2004, and when he went to US, 2005, when he went to US, things had changed, and we were in constant touch with them. In fact, at that point of time, the social media was not that active, but we used to have at least a phone call he could make from there. And later, when my daughters have gone there, then every day we talk on WhatsApp. So the distance between different countries have really vanished. There is no difference. We are in touch with our relatives, friends, and other business people. Kern may be in England, and we are speaking on this platform just as we were sitting in the same room. So gradually this border issues are now vanishing. So this has to be there, and we have to take advantage of this. There will be problem in every, whatever technology comes, this will comes with both positives and negatives. So negatives will be there, but I think that this is a new order that is coming, and we have to live with this new order.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I now move on to Ritik Mukherjee. Ritik Mukherjee is a senior journalist. Over to you, Ritik Mukherjee. Sir, I think you are on mute, sir.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please, sir.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. It's really a proud privilege to be present among such an august gathering illustrious panel, I must say. And I am like the odd man out among all of you who are kind of cyber experts. The topic that was given to me was slightly different, but here people who are present here, they are mostly talking about the cyber laws and cyber crimes and everything, and leakage of information. But fortunately or unfortunately, I am in the trade of information leakage only, because media is something that deals with media leakage. It's supposed to leak information from one source and then make it public. So that way we have a very curious position, I mean, so to say, among all of you. Uh, since we have Akkan, although Dakan present here, I am reminded of someone who I always keep saying is the best example of a classical reporter or journalist, who is Sanjay in Mahabharata, who was narrating the entire, there's a battle of Kurukshetra to Dhritarashtra. So I'm not getting into how he was narrating or how he was getting to see the entire battle, but the point is he was narrating the entire event of battle in a very matter of factly, the way it was happening without being opinionated. So he was just going on narrating the event. So that was the classical case of how a reporter or journalist is supposed to be. But that was like the old order. Now a new order has set in, as I think my previous speaker has rightly pointed out. Even if you look at the way how I started my career in the initial days, we used to either meet somebody or cover some event, then used to come back to our office, then sit over a cup of tea or coffee, then used to move out of the room, then used to have a fag, and then all sorts of things, pretending as if we were thinking about the story and all that. And at the end of the day, almost at the fag end of the day, we used to file our stories because we knew it will be read the next morning. So there was hardly any competition. But now, so many years down the line, almost 3 decades down the line, we cover somebody, we meet somebody, or we cover some event, we come back to our office, and by the time we come back to our office, there are millions of reportage on the same event, or on the basis of the whatever buys that concerned person is already there on the www, World Wide Web space. So what are we going to write, because it's already there in the public domain? So here comes the question of how digitization is changing or making a paradigm shift the way journalism or media used to be. So now it's an era of digital media, so to say. So there are so many issues, as I started with saying that it's a good thing for a journalist to leak information, but the point is whether you are doing it ethically or unethically. So there has to be a kind of a borderline, how far you can go just to leak an information or not. Or whether you are allowed to do some things or not. Otherwise, this hacking or cyber criminal or getting into infringing into someone else's territory to get or leak information, put in somebody's system or get into someone's system and then get the information out and then make it public. These are just not done in the traditional way of perspective. So these are some of the fundamental issues in media sector that one needs to look into. I'm sure many of you must have visited this Bada Imambara or Bhul Bhulaiya, as it is popularly called in Lucknow. If you go there, there is a place where the emperor used to sit, and many years, in front of that emperor's seat, whenever someone is to enter that place, that emperor was being able to look into who is coming or who is infringing into his territory, not the person who was entering. But in cyberspace, it's the other way around. The person who is infringing into your territory, you are not being able to see him, but he is being able to look through everything, probably more than you know about yourself. So these are again some of the fundamental issues we need to look into. I mean, I'm sure my co-panelists, they are more equipped, more competent to throw more lights into these issues. But I would like to really know how to tackle these are things. Some of the things, the process is irreversible. We have already arrived. The digital era has already arrived, and we are already there. So we cannot go back. So we have to be there. At the same time, we used to draw those clear-cut demarcation, the borderline, how far we can go and how far we can. There has to be some cyber resilience. And as I think either Mr. Kasim or somebody rightly pointed out, we need to have some cross-border collaboration and some cross-border legal framework and mechanism. Otherwise, the moment we are into the cyberspace or digital space, it's all open to everybody. It's no matter whether you are in India, in Kolkata, in Rishta, Kurnool, Farda, or wherever, or in some far-flung areas in Bihar. Uh, there is a kind of equality. So in this era, you need to have a clear-cut, well-defined cross-border legal framework to stop and ensure that there is a kind of cyber resilience to all of us. So with these introductory words, I would really like to know from my illustrious other co-panelists, so how to look into these fundamental issues and how to get out of this while being firm on this digital plane. Thank you very much.
Sir, I have a question for you, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, fake news in the media industry is also on the rise, and also we have some organizations which counter fake news, like Alt News. Then we have something called News Laundry, which is also countering fake news. Sir, how can we bust this problem? How can the authenticity or the security, or rather to say the sanctity of the media industry be kept intact?
But first of all, it is on the concerned journalist and the media person, as I mentioned in the beginning, that how much he can go, how far he can go. But yes, as you rightly pointed out, a very recent incident, I know the famous writer in Bengal who died recently, but even before he died, he had died 5 times at least. I'm not naming him, but Katsi, this, those people who are this cyber buff or this digital media buff, the same person who had died 5 times before his actual death. And same thing happened to another film star. So, there is a mad race. Everyone wants to, give some news or disseminate something, some information which is coming first from them. They want it's a kind of, what to say, it's a kind of, it's an illusion actually that I will get 1,000 likes, whatever I post on my Facebook wall. If I post that some so and so Mr. X and Y is no more, with some comment on my part, there will be either a sad emoticon or a care emoticon or some like emoticon. So how many these emoticons I have got? This is a kind of mad race for this. So out of this, so this is, I would say, innocuous in a way that it is not harming someone, but of course it's harming some sentiment. But there are other ways where you deliberately, place some fake news or some wrong information, outright misinformation, disinformation, so to say, and you can make it, you can spread it through the social media or digital media. It's a very easy thing to do. So I'm sure now Facebook is also working on coming up with some anti-fake movement. Google is also doing that, and there are other organizations also which are coming up with some solution, to check whether something is a fake news or a genuine news, whether some is authentic or not. So before either commenting or forwarding or writing something on a particular information, we need to check the authenticity of the information. And I mean, more than anything else, one needs to apply his mind, one needs to apply his sense of discretion. And I'm sure any intelligent person, if he or she uses or applies his or her sense of discretion, he or she can make out whether it's an authentic news, genuine news or not. There are ways of looking at it.
Thank you, sir. We
Thank
now move on to Dhanya Menon, ma'am. Ma'am, would you please like to speak on data security?
Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Like how all my previous speakers did talk about the importance of digital safety or data security. Uh, I mean, there's no alternative. There's no second opinion or the other reverse opinion where we can say or where we can debate on whether it is important or not now. 17 years back, yes, when I started my career in this field, people used to mock me saying that, oh, what are you talking about? This is the most, the fastest thing, the safest thing. Who can kind of, what crime are you talking about kind of things and all. But now, of course, every child knows that, this space has other side to the coin and it has to be looked into. Just like how one of my previous speakers spoke about the importance of security, it is just not about our personal entities or personal security on the digital space that we should be concerned about. Like he said, it also deals with a lot of the security aspect of the nation, the credibility as a nation, the credibility of the organization. So when you percolate it down from a national aspect, from national security level to a personal individual security level, out of my experience, what I have seen is that the kind of percolation differs, but the crime or the style of crime remains the same. So it depends on what is the impact that the criminal creates, that the crime becomes big or small, or whether it needs to be discussed at all, or whether it relates to a nation, or what is the kind of reaction we give to it. It's been years, decades now, almost close to 2 to 2.5 decades, where we have been dealing with this particular aspect in a very proactive manner. I mean, sorry, reactive manner, where something happens and then we think about it, like how I call myself a postmortem specialist more than when you talk about a cybercrime investigator. I've always said I'm a postmortem specialist because I only get to deal with issues after the issue has happened, where I get to tell somebody that how somebody has fooled some other person, or somebody has been smart, and where we have overlooked certain aspects. But now, at least from now on, it is very important that every user, whether it be the single user or a national level institutional user or a nation as a whole as a user, should think about being proactive and being trained in the particular field of security, because we are no more dealing with anything else other than cyber security or cyberspace right now. When we talk about that, geometrical rise of cyber crimes all over, even if you look at the global statistics, it is a geometrical rise, but it is just not that the crimes have gone haywire and uncontrollable. No, it is basically that most of the crimes that we have seen before the digital era has shifted to the digital space, because we are all now living in the digital space. So with that, I think I would invite all of them to think about being proactive, being trained, it's just not enough that we talk about being aware of the situation. No, we have to be trained about the situation.
Ma'am, you have rightly said that we need to be trained. And what do you think we are lacking as a nation? We have immense pool of talent. So what are the gaps which we need to fill, ma'am?
Earlier it was awareness. I would definitely say that most of the people didn't know. Even today, there is a large community of people who still are unaware about what could be the definition of cybercrime exactly, or how to deal with the exact issues when they come face to face with the issues. But like I said, now the most important thing would be to get trained on how the do's and do nots of this space. And the Data Protection Act, like the previous, the first speaker was talking about the Data Protection Act, basically, which came in UK in 2019. We were also ready to bring out about the data protection laws from 2018. We are people who have been waiting for this. It's getting postponed. I really wish it came into place at least in 2021 or 2022 early months. Once it comes into place, I think we have a very strong regulation. And yes, the Act itself, IT Act itself, has gone through a lot of amendments from the inception, but we are due for a proper amendment for the last at least 8 years now. So I think it is due that Act also looked into the regulation itself, or even looked at what could be the changes that can be looked into. And there should be a lot of do's and do nots, stipulated do's and do nots, which can be associated with certain kind of punishments and penalties. With every aspect of the digital area, with every organization, with every individual, where the do's and do nots are properly mentioned, properly percolated down to to every user, and they're taught about it.
Thank you, ma'am. We now move on to Karnika Seth, ma'am.
Very good evening to all. I think it's a very pertinent topic that we are discussing today, online security, and with specific reference to cyber security and data privacy. That is what we are talking about today. And I'm fortunate to, be a part of different, I would say, consultations where this has been at the helm of affairs, especially in the last year or two. And you would have seen what kind of dramatic changes have gone about in digitization in the COVID period, and the pandemic has really spurred a lot of activity, both on the front of regulation as well as shifting of businesses to technology. So adoption of cybersecurity has been at the core of most businesses. And this is a concern because of obvious reasons. The inherent nature of the internet is such that there is anonymity in the cyberspace. There is a lot of criminal activity also, and lots of cyber threats. The online education system has, overall in the last a few years, I would say, also the issues of child protection online and, protection of businesses and their data, the cyber security, cyber warfare, all these have been, at various junctures, been very, very important issues for the nation. So I have been fortunate to be a part of the ministry deliberations also, where we were talking about cyber security and looking at what should be infused in the new cybersecurity policy of the country, combating fake news and issues, such other issues when the Ministry of Electronics and IT and Home Ministry, they're looking at all these issues. And when we talk about policy framework, when we talk about the larger dimensions of this area of law, we look at various aspects from the point of view of a practitioner of cyber law before the courts. We do deal with these issues like data theft and man-in-the-middle attacks or ransomware attacks on a day-to-day basis. The importance of electronic evidence and how it is going to be used in the courts of law has also been part of deliberations, for us. And not only that, the larger consensus in the chambers of commerce, how businesses are being affected, talks and debates and discussions on cybersecurity during the COVID period and otherwise. More than 50 webinars are conducted, and some of them presented by me, where we're talking about how at every level, individual as well as business, we can protect ourselves, the best practices, how we should secure ourselves. There are very, very interesting, gadgets available, very interesting, sophisticated technology available. You would have heard of VPNs. You would have heard of, how different businesses are adopting, data loss prevention softwares, filtering techniques, and use of digital signatures, use of e-contracting. Now, all these have spurred a lot of, debates on how secure these are and can these also be cracked. Well, there is no 100% foolproof security on the internet. What we can do is use the best practices and tools and technologies available today, and that's what the aim is. That the law enforcement should also catch up, because many times the legal framework and the law enforcement falls behind the technology, and also falls behind what the criminals already know and are adopting to commit crime. So fortunately, again, I've been involved with a lot of law enforcement agencies like the CBI or the National Judicial Academy or the police academies, where we regularly train the law enforcement teams across India. And not only that, talking to educational institutions, academia, even at the ground level of children, covering a lot of states. We've already covered 14, 15 states, and more than 5 lakh of audience, basically I would say people from judiciary, people from law enforcement have been trained on a regular basis last 20 years. Yet I say that this is not enough, because there are a lot of structured programs needed to tackle the rise of cybercrime. You will be shocked. 11 seconds and there is a crime, in India, cybercrime in India. And if you look at the statistics, it's going, every second day it's doubling, it's increasing. And common man is also suffering through QR code scams and very small phishing scams and smishing scams through SMSs and social engineering attacks. So therefore, the need for awareness is huge. I mean, we really understand that we are in the age and times when we need to safeguard ourselves, our data. And not only that, the legal framework needs a lot of reform. So the PDP bill is underway. You would have heard about the Personal Data Protection Bill. There was this Aadhaar judgment, the case of Aadhaar, where the Honorable Supreme Court of India, there was a committee appointed, Justice Sri Krishna Committee. They gave a report. Now it's before the Parliament, under consideration, the PDP bill. And soon it will come. But a very, very interesting part of that PDP bill is that requirement of explicit consent. Many times you would just surf the web and go onto a website, and you don't know you've already agreed, because the terms and conditions of that website say that the moment you come on our site, you agree for that you would be installing cookies from that website into your device, and you have to click on I accept. And once you do that, you've given away a lot of information. Leave aside websites, even on your phone, you want to order a food, or you want to download an educational app or anything. The moment you do that, it asks you for various permissions. Look at your contacts, surf your videos, surf your have access to your image gallery. It doesn't need to for that services that it will render, but you still click on I agree and it's all gone. So we have to be mindful. It is a time and age when what we are parting away is important. So therefore, our role as a legal consultant, we advise companies on, say, social media policy, drafting of the terms of conditions of an app, or launch of a social media platform, what they can legally take and what they cannot legally take, from their readers or viewers, is very important. And a lot of companies have begun understanding, because in our PDP bill also there will be hefty fines if you violate those rules. So the explicit consent, if you're just putting it in a very fine print that you're taking away, this is just to render these services, it's in a very fine print, that will not work. You have to have an express consent and very, very boldly write what you are taking away, why you're taking away, what is the purpose behind it, and for how long will you keep that information. All those things are important. And what kind of information, whether it is any views or particular personal views or health data record, biometrical record, all this becomes sensitive personal information. Your financial data becomes sensitive personal information. So the treatment given to personal data is very, very important in the PDP bill, and the scope of that has been expanded. Even your religious views, your sexual orientation, your opinion about a particular political party, it can be anything. It is widened, in the scope that currently exists under the IT Act is limited, but now it will be expanded. So we are looking forward to that bill. And the judgment, in Justice Sri Krishna, this K.S. Puttaswamy case, in fact, very, very important judgment was given that right to privacy is a fundamental right. So it cannot be something that you can ignore or violate, and there are heavy fines. Just like in GDPR, you have euro 20 million fine or 4% of global turnover. PDP will also have similar punishments, and fines, imposed in India, and that will make it a deterrent. So everybody has to comply with the law, and it's important to understand at this point that there's a lot of writing on the PDP bill and critiques given on the net about it, awareness among different stakeholders. And it is a multi-stakeholder approach. It's not something, single-handedly government is doing. So there have been a lot of consultations, and I think we are looking forward to that. Very soon it will be launched. But apart from the legal, the regulatory part, there are also procedural changes happening in the Supreme Court of India. For example, I was again fortunate to be given a chance to write the manual for e-filing. The whole process of filing a case from a rural India point of view or to a urban India point of view, anywhere you can file through e-filing, and this manual can be used by 21 high courts, and is ready for use by 18,000 district courts in India, and a lot of places have already started, using the same. So it has been a major milestone in the e-courts mission project, where the e-committee of the Supreme Court of India worked on this, and it has been successful. So things like these are really creating I would say a good change in the system, bringing a good change in the system. And with that, I think it's important to see this from an international point of view also, because a lot of cyber crimes emerge from transborders, different countries. And having dealt with all these Nigerian attacks and other kind of crime cases with the law enforcement, I have been in fact advocating that when India needs to sign a cybercrime convention, because just having multi-party or bilateral treaties is not working fine. The nature of internet is such that the tangible, it's not tangible, it's intangible and very easily tampered. So if a data is stolen, or if a record is stolen, if it is blocked, it has to be quickly done. Like you have to find who the perpetrator is very quickly. So the timelines have to be very fast. And for that, an international cooperation mechanism needs to be very robust and strong, which we don't have at the moment. So that is something which I have also emphasized from time to time. And as regards best practices, I always say that don't keep your if you're using any OS, it has to be updated all the time. Never download any links which you are suspecting are not coming from an authentic source. Having a good antivirus, having a good anti-spyware on your system, and to protect your personal identity, only share what you need to share and not otherwise on the net. If you're forwarding something you've got on WhatsApp or otherwise, check the authenticity of it. It should not be fake news. So a lot of responsibility on yourself as well is important. And a lot of people don't really read the terms and conditions of any service that they take. So that's also important, what you're surfing, and are you downloading safe content or not. So all these things are important, and use of good VPNs, password managers is an important thing as well. And educating women, children, I think at the school level we've done that a lot, and also through these discussions and dialogues, and with the chambers of commerce is obviously the concentration is different, protecting businesses and industries, but with children it is different. When we're also educating academia on how they can prevent cybercrime and threats to children. So on that quarter, I've been again fortunate to work with the NCPCR or NCRT and UNICEF, UNESCO, and a couple of other agencies. ICMEC in Singapore. They all work on child protection, and that again I've been very fortunate to be a part of their initiatives as well. So overall, I just want to sum it up by saying that yes. It was a time and age when we were talking about security only from the point of view of, say, security by design. It should be internet should you may treat it like that. but now it's privacy by design, because we're talking about protecting privacy, and that should be at the core of every transaction, every business, or every technology or a gadget we are making. Because I believe VCrypt, I read a little bit on this, does have it's a search engine which safeguards privacy. So these kind of technology and implementation of technology is something that will be indispensable, because people prefer keeping their IoT devices and using those services which safeguard their privacy. And people are scared to use I won't name those particular gadgets, but you're already aware of the smart technology available today, which can even snoop into your conversations and snoop into even if it's a refrigerator or an AC. People are scared to use smart devices because something is recording and then going across, maybe across India, so somewhere else. That's the fear which is there in the people's mind. And I think technologies which will help safeguard that concern and that data of people and respect their privacy is going to be more and more crucial in the online safety and cybersecurity ecosystem. Thank you so much for this opportunity. If you have
Ma'am,
any
I have
question, I'll
one
be happy to answer.
question.
Yeah.
Ma'am, as you have said that we usually do not read the terms and conditions. We usually click on the button, right?
Yes.
So how can the feeling of cybersecurity, the awareness, be ingrained in us? We are already conducting many trainings, and we are already spreading the awareness among a lot of people. How can we ingrained in the grassroots?
Okay, that's a good question. Well, I often do it through real life cases I have handled. I use case studies because that sinks in very easily. So, for instance, in one of the cases, a girl, she just uploaded a lot of her pictures into a new web service, which she thought was very secure, and somewhere she had heard about it. And when she did that, she didn't set up the privacy feature of the same. So, and she didn't read the terms which said that if you don't choose a feature, it will automatically go onto your social media. So when she saved all those personal pictures, they were mostly selfies, and they were very, very personal. And this went viral and on social media. And then we had to really, write a legal notice and send out proper communications to the social media platforms to remove the same from wherever this went viral, and block that account out. Because this is a problem, because if you don't read what you're going to do with the content, the web service will do what it has to. It will be written in the terms, and if you don't read it, it's the onus is on you. The burden is on you that you've accepted the terms after all. So I do want to insist on the one thing that people don't understand, that the electronic evidence can be proven in a court of law. They often have that, I would say, assumption that whatever is an SMS or an email, we cannot prove it. So if somebody's threatening you, harassing you, or something is there on the web, they cannot do anything much about it because it's electronic evidence. But that's not the case. Even trolling, sexting, problems like revenge porn, and those are personal harm related problems. But even data theft, other things like defamation, we've done all these actions in code of law, and so these are admissible as evidence. The electronic evidence can be let. So that's important for people to understand. And it is also important that they write to the social media platform, if it is a social media platform, to remove the content. Within 36 hours they're supposed to remove it, and as per new guidelines, within 24 hours if it's very, very damaging nature, especially if it's obscene or otherwise child pornography, and things like which are settled law that this is prohibited. So you can immediately get action and report it, of course, to the police. That of course is there. On you can use the National Helpline 112 also, and otherwise the cybercrime.gov.in is the official website. I'll repeat, cybercrime.gov.in, where you can just officially file a complaint, and then police takes action. And that's not the end of the legal recourse. You can have compensation also if you want from a civil court. In many cases, we've got that: defamation actions, compensation, data theft actions. Again, compensation's been granted. So it is possible to get legal recourse in cybercrime and other, data theft and other cases. So have faith in the system. The system is there. People are working on the same, and you just need to be aware and enforce your rights. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. I now move on to Advocate Rajesh Pingle. Hello, sir.
Hi, good evening to everyone. So I think more or less, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me, and I feel privileged to be here among all of you. So more or less, everything is covered by all the participants, but just for me to add a little bit what everyone has said. First, I think Mr. Kasim has rightly pointed out that there are some challenges when it comes to investigation, or when we think from the investigation perspective, and the law enforcement agencies are facing these challenges. So the main challenge, what I see right now, is that these are obviously, cyberspace does not have any boundary, and most of the offenses are as we all know, these are all cross-border offenses. There's some person sitting outside India hacking into a computer which is situated here in India. And just to give you a brief example, if we think about this Cosmos Bank case which happened in Pune in India, and so there are more than 40 countries involved in that particular matter. So these law enforcement agencies, they have to coordinate with all the 40 countries. So unfortunately, today the scenario is such that India as a country is not a signatory to any cybercrime convention. When we talk about Budapest Convention on Cybercrime, so more than 50-60 countries are signatories to that convention and have ratified it subsequently. So that's a desperate need when it comes to gathering evidences from all these countries, and it obviously defeats the purpose if you cannot gather electronic evidence against an accused. Otherwise, you are not able to, as a prosecution side, you are not able to do, you won't be able to do anything to prove the evidence, or to basically adduce the evidence before the court. So that becomes a main challenge. And the second thing I would like to talk about from the investigation perspective, again, like there is no SOP as such mentioned anywhere right now. So thankfully, I think the Honorable Karnataka High Court gave a good judgment regarding SOP of how to investigate cyber crimes. That judgment came into existence in, I think, in 2021 only. And right now we only have that thing which can tell us how to investigate. Otherwise, we do not have any rules which can specifically shed light on how to properly investigate a cybercrime, how to maintain the chain of custody when it comes to electronic evidences. Because many of the cases I have seen that I don't blame these law enforcement agencies also, because they don't have the correct, normally, I mean, we try to train them. I have been training them for the last 11 years now. Even more, there are many cybercrime investigators who train these law enforcement agencies. But every three year, these police officers from cyber police stations, they get transferred. So if someone new is coming, that person obviously does not have enough knowledge how to investigate, and there, I think 1 or 2 years goes into that only, into learning how the entire scenario works, how the entire landscape is, and then how to conduct the investigation. So that's the biggest challenge right now. We need to have a separate entity altogether to investigate cyber crimes, if you ask me. I mean, one more challenge I see is, even if we have this mutual legal assistance treaty with the other countries, it will obviously depend on the country to share this electronic evidence with us or not. And the procedure is so lengthy that it again defeats the purpose of prosecution altogether. Because if you are sending a letter rogatory to some other country to get information from that country, it is a big task. It may take more than 2-3 years to actually for them to revert. And I've seen in this specific case, because I was assisting the law enforcement agencies here in Pune in this Cosmos Bank case, and we were coordinating with US FBI, and we were these law enforcement agencies, they were wanting some information regarding this particular matter, but unfortunately these people were not sharing it. So it becomes a very tedious process to gather information from outside. And I think someone also talked about this. Right now, when we think from the privacy perspective, I think it is high time we have this Personal Data Protection Act in place. Even yesterday also, I was checking the Lok Sabha website, and I was shocked to see that the bill first came or was introduced in 2018. Then subsequently, the second bill came in 2019, and it was finalized. But right now, we are again thinking of revising that bill further. That's what I saw on the Lok Sabha website yesterday, and I was shocked that it is again going to be a process. There will be more than 100. I mean, the committee which is there right now is thinking about actually revising the bill and bringing in more than 100 changes into the bill. So again, it will be a time consuming process, if you ask me. And when it comes to your health records and medical history, so obviously it comes under the banner of sensitive personal information under the current data protection and privacy regime which we have under reasonable security practices and the IT Act and other rules also. But it is, if you ask me, it is deficient right now at this stage, because the important thing here is that we have to show our vaccination certificates everywhere. If you ask me from a very grassroots level, so that also becomes your medical history and health related record. So securing that record also becomes very important, whether you are vaccinated, whether you are fully vaccinated. So we are providing these certificates everywhere. So whether those certificates are properly preserved, properly encrypted, and stored properly, so that becomes a very important question to everyone right now. So coming to one more thing which I would like to just shed a little bit light on is fake news. And I think one of the participants already talked about it. But what we need here in India is the same law which Singapore has, which talks about anti-fake law. No, sorry, anti-fake news law. So we require certain legislation, certain separate legislation to curb the fake news in general, because even in this pandemic period, we have seen that there are a lot of misinformation being spread on social media, misinformation being spread on Twitter, Facebook, or other social media, big social media giants. And thankfully, the government in February 2021, they brought in these new intermediary guidelines, which are more stringent than the previous ones. But unfortunately, we had this intermediary guideline back in 2011 also when it came, but no company was the social media companies or the other intermediaries were not following those guidelines to the book. And right now, the government is actually looking into whether the guidelines are being followed or not. So it's a good thing that we have it. It curbs the fake news angle also, but we need. I still believe that we need a separate legislation to act as a deterrence, because these rules obviously are not sufficient, if you ask me. And yeah, that's why to just give you a brief, that we need a good amendment in the information technology law, because the law came into existence in 2000. We only had one amendment till date in 2008. There hasn't been any amendment from 2000, and we all know that the technology is evolving at such a fast pace that the law is not able to catch up to the technology as such. And we need the personal data protection law desperately, because Indians, I've seen, I mean, thankfully, we have that awareness, a little bit of awareness right now, not to share information with everyone. But previously, I've seen that as Indians, we actually cared very less about our personal information or privacy in general. Right now, people are more aware. I'm glad to see that. So that Personal Data Protection Act also needs to come into existence very, very fast. And third thing is we need a certain law to curb the fake news, because when the Honorable Supreme Court deleted Section 66A from the Information Technology Act by the virtue of Shreya Singhal versus Union of India judgment, so we do not have anything under IT Act right now to cover even offensive messages, offensive content online, or fake news online. So that provision specifically also talked about spreading rumors, spreading fake news, and was a little bit helpful in curbing fake news in general. But we desperately need overhaul into having a new law into place. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. I think Shanawaz sir wanted to ask a question. Over to you, sir.
Look, I have some urgent meeting, but I will just, if you excuse me, one thing I just wanted to tell you. More, we have been talking about the individual rights and the security situations we require online. But I have a bigger threat which I see due to non-protection of data. That is the artificial intelligence. In the future, every decision will be made almost by artificial intelligence methods. The human intervention will be very, very less. Say, for example, now banks are giving instant loan without even talking to you. So it's the bots that interact with you with your data and they decide whether you are credit worthy or not. So amplify it to the larger democratic rights. If the marginalized, the weak, and the weakest, if you do not protect the data, who will cater for the rights? Because in future, the legal advice, the judgments in the court, even the administrative decisions by the executive authority, the investigation by the police, most of will be data analytics, AI generated, everything will be AI. So if you manipulate data, then the rights of the groups of people and democratic rights will be curtailed. I will just end by giving an example. 3 years back, there was a beauty contest held in America in which the jury was an artificial intelligence. You know, everybody who won was from a particular face group. Those were whites. The beauty of the algorithm was that it only considered a particular face as a beautiful. So can you imagine the drastic havoc that artificial intelligence and the algorithm and the manipulation of data can create for the weaker and the weakest? It will create prejudice in the society. It will further demoralize the weakest or the weak. Who will care for these rights? So rather than all these things, I'm thinking about those in which the rights of the citizens as a group will be manipulated. I will end by saying there's a book called Superintelligence by a Oxford University professor. It's a very, very interesting book on artificial intelligence and data. He gives a very beautiful example. The gorilla is physically stronger than the humans, but humans have a more matured brain. So who controls? Gorilla does not control us. We control the gorilla because of our intelligent brain. So in future, if the artificial intelligence is increasing, it will have much better brain and computational power than the human. So who will control us? The robots, the artificial intelligence. So think bigger. So your data laws and your data philosophy, the data laws has to have a philosophy. Until unless a law doesn't have a philosophy, it cannot solve the problem of the society. So please concentrate on the dangers of artificial intelligence, how to rein it so that the democratic rights of the citizens and as a group is not violated. The weak are protected. That is what democracy is. That is what constitutional mechanism is. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, will you please stay on for some time, sir? Sir, I'm now moving on to Doug Karn, the founder of Skarn Robotics and also the founder of VCrypt search engine. Over
Hello,
to you,
everyone.
sir.
So thank you so much for joining. And I love to hear you guys. And what I have understood about all these understandings is like you guys are suffering a lot with all these situations where you're getting in. And Mr. about like how this AI thing is going on and everything is going manipulated and every time. According to that, what we have developed is like I'm not the guy who can say like I'm a guy from low background or I'm a guy from police background that I can just judge those things. But I can tell you one thing that it's with our product line, it's so easy to handle those things properly in terms of like how we can protect it. So I was listening to Mr. Rajesh Pingle and Dania Menon and Mr. Secretary as well. And I would love to bring some queries in the meantime because the way I have heard from you guys, I just felt like it's so easy for me to cater all these queries that you have raised right now. Because right now you guys are talking about something that is a problem, but there is no solution yet. Am I right? Everyone, I would love to if you have interactive discussion on there. That would be much easier for me to understand your concern and I can answer in terms of like the way we in terms of giving a speech. It's not going to be a solution in there. So yeah, I mean Mr. Pingle and Mr. Secretary and Dania Menon, if you're there, we can go ahead with that according to.
No, I don't have any question as such. Yes, solutions at any given point of time are always welcome. We're all looking for solutions as long as they can be acceptable and they bring in results. So, would like to hear from you.
Okay, so if I talk about like I developed those kind of products because the main concern was always I was feeling like first time when I started working on Messenger, I mean not even working on first time I started to use some kind of messenger that am I gonna be helping to connect. On that moment, I felt like this is not something that is. I mean, even people didn't know about the encryption, in the beginning. I'm talking about like in 2013 or 14 something. But in the time being, I started understanding those aspects. I felt like why now we can start working on something that we can create the whole ecosystem that can protect privacy in there. So when you guys were saying about like if you are not to click any sort of link, not to visit any sort of website, why do you have to visit if you have the whole ecosystem that is protecting from one place to another place? And that's how the whole idea came out about the vCrypt in terms of like, as I said, the search engine that I have created is not about something that can makes you feel like that whatever you search in, we're going to track every single moment that you guys have faced in. But yeah, we will understand like every single search that you do, we don't take that much of data in terms of like whatever you're looking into. So for example, if you're maybe you traveling somewhere and you're looking for something, we're not gonna asking you, or our system or maybe our AI is not going to understand or maybe not going to ask you about like anything whatever you're doing in there. So our concern is about like not to take that much of data that is going to be cause any sort of problem in upcoming future. So like every single company, those who are taking data, it's really hard for them to store that. And once you are not able to protect properly, that means you have to take it. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's the whole concern of this whole industry right now. And people, those who talk about like, how we can having a laws, having a legislation, all these aspects that you guys are talking about. But I feel like we need a product line that can, even if there is no laws, that we can tell our audience, or maybe you can say like users or maybe businesses, that if you are using our product line, you don't have to think about those things, because the kind of ecosystem I'm trying to build here is about something that is not going to just help you to understand about like how you can save yourself, but it's about something that can help you to understand like you don't have to worry about what you're talking to your family, what you're talking to your friends, or maybe your loved ones. But in terms of like whatever you have seen till now, because we are dependent on some kind of companies, those who are not available in our country. That's what I'm trying to say. As I was listening to someone, and they have already pointed out like when they are connecting with the other countries, they are not providing that kind of details that they can handle those situations. And for that reason, I believe first of all we need a product line that belongs to our own country, and then after, the way we have to make that thing circulated in terms of like people has to aware of like what we are offering. And if we are offering, then our responsibility is to understand like the concern. People don't even understand about the cyber security or maybe the loss of data, but still we have to take care of it. So it's like it's all about the companies, those who have to take those response properly. I believe so. In terms of like, because courts and legislative systems or maybe users, they are going to suffer until we're not going to be taken care of as a company. Because as a company, what we have seen till now, and when we are dependent on some other countries, you might have already seen like what happened in a few months ago in terms of like the way they have banned all the application in India. In terms of like the similar kind of situation is happening in other countries as well. Like most of the people in other countries, they are not using American product line. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't want to call someone's name, but yeah, that's the reality of the situation right now, because every single country, they are understanding about how people are misusing those kind of data. If we are taking from, maybe you can say like it's a health sector, either it's a education sector, either it's a, like you can say a government sector, whatever the sector it comes in. It's all about like if people gonna start thinking of that there is nothing that we can switch into, but there is something that we only have to depend on it, then you need laws. You know what I'm trying to say? Because you have only one, you can say like the process or maybe services or maybe the product line that is not offering that kind of services, the other ones can do that. And on that point of time, what happens is like, the way you have to lose it, you don't have any choice. You know what I'm trying to say? So I think it's a responsibility of a company, not as a government or regulations that they're gonna be behind you every single moment. Because when I'm selling something, then I need to understand about what kind of users I'm offering them. And if I'm not taking care of my own users, that means like I don't deserve to even sell those things, So that's the ethical values that people are not maintaining it. And that's how these old people are suffering. Because if you see about like the kind of product line you are using right now, I'm talking about in your own mobile, the product that you have, I'm not going to point out, but you need to understand like where you offering all this data to. That's what I'm trying to say, and where things are coming to you. That's what I'm trying to say. But if you're not going to point out, if you're not going to support their own, inbuilt product that belongs to our own things, then it might not going to be happen what you're looking into. So we're going to be talking every single time there is a new webinar, there is a new, conference going on, but it's not going to help out in terms of like what we can change the whole perspective of like, why do we have to depend on someone if we already have something for? You got a point what I'm trying to say?
Over to Advocate Rajesh Pingle. Sir, do you have any questions?
Yeah, please, Mr. Rajesh Pingle.
No, I
and,
completely, I agree with.
I do apologize if I
some
say
extent.
something wrong, but because like.
No, you're correct. You're correct when you say that it's ethically, it has to be embedded in these companies. I completely agree, but not every company thinks like you do. So that's the main problem which we have right now.
It doesn't mean like every people are not thinking of, but someone has to take the initiative, And if someone is not taking initiative, that means like we are not the human being. And so I'm trying to say, I talk about AI a lot. I know about the blockchain a lot, but I do care about how I can control those things. If I don't control those things, you might not gonna be able to control it. And it doesn't matter what kind of law you build in, or what kind of advisory you are building in. It doesn't matter. It's all about like if you're not sharing a data to something, the kind of place you're looking into, you don't have to worry about. Because I have my own messenger, I have my own search engine, browser. Like you can buy products, you can run the whole business here. So when you not quitting from one place to another place, you don't have to even think of like where you're losing yourself. That's what I'm trying to say. And when you are not thinking of like where you're losing yourself, as you someone just said, like a girl, she just had the problem and all the pictures got shared. Be in my one. That's what I'm trying to say. Because every single time when you search something or when you ask with my search engine, they're gonna be self-destructed every single time. That's what I'm trying to say. We have our own weak assistant as well, as you said about like the bot system. I was listening to Mr. Qasim as well. So he said like the bot system. But the bot system, what they are doing is about like they all are restoring that, And once they are restoring, how can you think that things is going to be normal? You know what I'm saying? So it's all about like, it's a responsibility of a company, not of a lawyer or maybe a judge or maybe a country or maybe a legislative system or government. Because I feel like as a company, we have to take care of our people. And it's not about our people, it's all about the users or it's all about the businesses. If we not take care of the users, we might gonna be, because see, the time being I built my messenger, on that point of time, I have heard that there is a lots of forwarded message was going on there was an application that you guys do use a lot. From the beginning, I know that. So, and there was 28 people died because of that, and that made me feel like, why not I create something that is not going to forward that kind of fake messages or fake news that you guys are talking about right now. Because the concern you are putting through here is about like someone has to take care of it. Because even the startups today, they are not thinking those aspects. Because they are just thinking about building some amount of fund that can be easily, make you easy rich or something, and then you are done. That's what I'm trying to say. That perspective has to be changed, according to me. I mean, I don't know according to the people what they think, but as a company, I believe like these are the moral responsibility, and it's our responsibility that we have to take care of it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. Mhm.
Sir, I have a question for Advocate Rajas Pingle.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Uh, Sir, you are also dealing with forensic data collection, right? So cyber forensics is also one of the things that you look into. So what are the
To correct you there, I don't actually do cyber forensics, but I know a lot of people who do work into that field because it is connected to me. So
yes, yes.
when we think of litigation, obviously cyber forensics is very important.
Sir, in your opinion, what are the do's and don'ts that we need to keep in mind while we are investigating a case or looking into a case?
I think Miss Menon would be in a better position to answer this question because she deals into cybercrime investigation. I can answer this, but I think she has much more experience into cybercrime investigation than me. I think she would be in a better position to answer this.
Yeah, I will take this question, but the first thing is the time factor, like how what Ms. Karnika said. The most important thing is the time factor. Whenever we are talking about a technical evidence, we are talking about time and time and time. But unfortunately, once we get into the court, what happens is that no matter how fast we have retrieved the evidence, we have quarantined the evidence, the court procedure definitely lags about, and then we find it very difficult to. Though I'm not a lawyer, so it becomes very difficult for me to translate it to the lawyer, then the lawyer to translate it in the court, and that is where we have failed most of the times. If I mean, in those issues where we have failed. So one thing definitely, like I said, it's the time factor for reporting. The second thing is, maneuvering with the digital data, whatever the victim has, whether it's a personal victim or an organizational victim, they tend to maneuver or manipulate around whatever they have before they get into a legal or technical consultation about how and what to go about. And there are a lot of issues like what I don't want to mispronounce his name. Advocate who passed this question to me. I'm sorry.
Rajas Pingle.
Pingle.
Pingle, yes. Advocate Pingle said, there's a lot of, there are a lot of misconcerns about what has to be done, how it has to be done, and how it has to be presented in the court. Though Asian School of Cyber Laws did bring about a manual of investigation to the legal department and to the police department years back, but we have seen a kind of change or resistance or probably not following things to the dot by different agencies, whether it be the legal system or the law enforcement authorities or the consultants, whoever. I mean, we have seen that it has been deviated over the time, over and again, and like how he said, the SOP has been defined by a court itself only of late. So we are yet to see a proper mechanism.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Sir, my question to Advocate Rajas Pingle. Sir, how can we spread awareness among the police?
Sorry. One more thing, Advocate Singler, you can correct me or you can add on or whatever. I mean, to what I have said. Thank you. I'll just share
No, you're
my
absolutely
experience.
correct. No, you're absolutely correct. It becomes very difficult to for other lawyers. I've been working in this field for the last 11 years, so I know uh, I know the language of technology and I understand the language of technology. So I am in a better position to understand what you are saying. But you are absolutely correct. When you guys actually conduct some sort of investigation and you gather evidences, and it becomes very challenging for you guys also to convey the same in a very simple language to the lawyers, and subsequently those lawyers have to convey it to the judges. So it becomes a very tedious and it becomes a very difficult job for those lawyers to actually understand it and then convey it. And when it comes to the investigation manual, I meant that no government institution or central government hasn't come up with a proper SOP as such to for cybercrime investigation till date. And like Department of Justice has in the US, they have a proper investigation search and seizure manual for electronic evidence when it comes to that. So we don't have anything of that sort. Obviously, private companies, they do have their own investigation manual, and it is being followed. It must be based on best practices, but it is not been brought by a central government or by any sort of state government for that matter. And I absolutely agree with you on that point. Yes.
Sir, I have a question for you. Sir, how can we raise awareness among those who are upholding the laws? I mean, like the police or those who are in charge of framing the laws, not exactly framing, uh, enacting the laws.
Yeah, the problem here is that as I said that we as lawyers have been training many law enforcement agencies into cyber laws and cybercrime investigation for the last 11-12 years. The problem here is that they have their transfers. So even if we train a specific batch of these officials, they are going to get transferred somewhere else, and in their space, some other person comes. Obviously, he's not aware of the cybercrime investigation. That's why we require a specific division and a specific set of people who are only are going to be there to conduct cybercrime investigations and to look into cyber offenses as such. So then we don't have to train everyone again and again. So by that logic, we can actually do a lot of things other than obviously this cybercrime awareness sessions we every now and then everyone conducts. But unless and until you have the practical experience into it, unless and until you handle such certain cases and you work upon it, you are not well equipped to actually investigate a cybercrime. So that's the biggest challenge right now.
Sir, I have a question for the Khan.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, how can you explain the concept of vCrypt as an alternative to Google? Because when you tell anyone to search anything on the web, they automatically it comes to their mind that okay, we need to Google this term. All right. So how can you explain to maybe a 6-year-old or 7-year-old who are presently doing online classes the concept of vCrypt and why is it essential today?
I mean, technically, if I talk about like as you said about I don't know about the product you just said. You know, so I'm trying to say I'm going to be talking about myself only because so if I talk about my product line, we have search engine that you might see behind me, and the search engine is about not to take your data. The concern is about how we can make that sure that we don't have to you know, when you're searching something and when you're just trying to receive some kind of data in there, then you don't have to put your data for a longer period of time. And with that perspective, it's so easy for you that you don't have to lose your data. That's what I'm trying to say. But generally what happens, like when you're searching on some other search engines, you have to give a lot of things and a lot of permission. Once you start giving the permission, then you have to allow them to take your data. You know what I'm saying? And you don't have any other option. That's why you have to use it for a long time. I mean, for the last 10 years, people are using the same search engine. That's what I'm trying to say. But now we have the option that we can change the whole perspective. Like we don't have to, I mean, why do you need a cybercrime if you have the product to stop those crimes to be happen? That's what I'm trying to say. First, the concern has to be coming from the own, I mean, lots of founders are there, but they are not taking that serious. But in terms of I always say that in maybe 5 years or 2 years down the line, people gonna start selling data, you know, just open market. They don't even have to think about okay, they have to go somewhere or maybe in a black market or somewhere. They're just gonna go in an open market. They're gonna say okay, 1,000 bytes, 10,000 rupees. That's what I'm trying to say. So the only thing, the concern I really want to raise here is about if you not lose yourself, if you don't give up that much, then you don't have to think of like you're losing yourself. You know what I'm saying? But if you start giving up a lot of things in there, either it's online or either it's offline, you have to face the same kind of problem. Either it's in the beginning or either it's in the end. So it's all about like our platform is about something where we care about your privacy. And I do understand how these things can be manipulated and how these things can be, cause problems for any sort of people, I mean, around the globe. It's not like our product line is not just running in India, it's running in around the globe right now. And people from different countries like China or Russia, they all are using our product line and they are quite liking it. Because the way we take data, we understand like we don't need that much. When you are searching something, we don't need that much because I mean, lots of company, what they are doing is like if they're gonna take a lot of things from you, then it would be much easier for them. Like they're gonna show you a lot of ads in there, and maybe a lot of manipulation can be happen. And because of like when you provide them a lot of data, then your freedom is gonna be compromised as well, according to me. That's what I'm trying to say. And once the freedom is compromised, then they can show you whatever the information they want to show. That's what I'm trying to say. So to protect, I mean, to understand those whole scenario, our company, I mean, if I talk about my own company's values, then it's about like to protect privacy, freedom, and information. So information, when I talk about, then it's like we're not going to show you any sort of information that is going to be manipulated or that is manipulated already. You know what I'm trying to say. If I talk about freedom, then you have the rights to do whatever you want in our platform, and we're not going to be stopping you as a company. Similarly, as the privacy, if I talk about, then I don't know that much of laws. But yeah, I do know one thing, that if I don't take that much, I don't have to take care of that. That's what I'm trying to say. It's just a layman kind of aspects I'm talking about. That's what I'm trying. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. That was
No
all.
problem.
And
Yeah.
do anyone have any questions among the panelists or among the observers?
I mean, yeah, if anyone have it, then we can, please.
I guess not.
Mm-hmm. So,
Hello.
I mean,
I have one question to Dhanya ma'am.
yeah.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. In every case, the onus of securing the private information is on the user. But why are the companies not why are the companies allowed to put these permissions which can like potentially harm the privacy of the people? Why not there a law that actually restrict them from asking for these permissions?
I think the onus is always on the user. No matter what happens, the onus is always on the user as to how much of the information the user wants to divulge or to let go off with. I think the intermediary rules and regulations that came up this year is one way of curtailing the amount of information or them trying to mitigate their responsibilities to the end users. But again, how much of it, the quantum of data or the quality of data, again, is debatable. There is no, as to my understanding, there is no clear-cut demarcation to it till date.
Okay, ma'am.
So, mhm.
Yes, thank you, ma'am.
Not able to hear you, Satyaki. You're saying something. You have to unmute yourself.
Sir, do you have any other things to add on to?
You asking me?
Yes, sir, yes.
I mean, I would love to hear from Mr. Health Secretary, like what they are saying about according to what they have faced in the health department in India, and how we can help out in there. That's for sure. If you can hear me.
I'll try to get him connected, sir.
Mm-hmm.
No, sir, I think he has left.
So yeah, in terms of if I talk about like how we can help in terms of as a company, then we are always ready. Like as I said, I don't know that much of laws that cares about privacy, but yeah, I do care about privacy, and I do know like what I'm offering. I can help people to solve these problems without going somewhere else. That's for sure. But you have to stop using something that people are using for a long time. That's the whole concern is. That's what I'm trying to say. If you stop using that, if you switch to us, then we might gonna think like how we can change the whole perspective of losing your privacy. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that can be possible. I think, I mean, in terms of like as a founder, I would say like there's a lots of aspects that can be cured and that can be protected, but it can be only happen when you stop using any sort of application that is sharing data somewhere else, not to your own country. That's what I'm trying to say. Either you belongs to someone somewhere, or either you belongs to India, whatever it comes in. But it has to be somewhere that has the 100% protective gear in it, and the protection that we use for infrastructure that has to be cleared properly, so that can be intact properly. So in terms of, as I said, I'm not a lawyer, but I can just promise according to my, as a founder. So what that's for sure. Yeah. So I think I might have some other meeting as well, but is this?
Sir, would I just check whether the uh, Health Secretary, Mr. Arun, is there?
Okay, okay. If you want. All right.
No, I think he has left, I guess.
Mhm. So yeah,
Hi, sir.
I mean, I think you should we have some other meetings as well, so we can take care of
Sure,
those
sir.
things as well. So if you allow me, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
It was a
Have a
pleasure
nice.
talking to you, sir.
No problem.
Thank you.
It's really nice talking to you. Thank you. Bye bye. Bye
Okay.
bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you to all our esteemed panelists. It was a pleasure hosting you today. Good night, ma'am.